Hi everyone, welcome. Happy Friday, Facebook Friday. I hope that you are having a sunshiny day. We are here and so glad that you're here. Today we are going to talk about learning the violin. And even though it can be challenging, there are some steps and tips that I can help you with today that will help make it easier. So if your child is challenging, if it's really challenging to do violin right now or anything for that matter, whether it's school, or whether it's just getting to make our bed, whatever it may be, maybe it's us as parents too. Knowing what we want to accomplish this, but I don't know how to get there. Stay tuned because we're going to talk about some tips in order to fulfill those goals. So glad you're here. I'm Miss Melody with Violin Practice Partner. I've been teaching violin for 25 years and my mission is to light the world through music. I love teaching violin. I've taught for many, many years and I have found that not only teaching music to children will help them learn to play beautifully and recognize beauty around them, but it also builds confidence. It helps them develop life skills that will last a lifetime, and it increases their academic achievement. Studies have shown that time and time again, how important it is to have music as part of a child's life for the development of the emotional maturity and for the brain. So let's jump right in. We all know that learning a musical instrument isn't always easy. It can be filled with challenges, right? But studies also show that when children work on something with challenges, they are happier, finding that place of balance of challenge. So how do we create that place where our child can get that success? What can we do? Well, my first tip I'd like to give you is have the mentality to not give up. Don't give up. When I was in college, I actually did my own study for one of my classes, and I took a poll of many adults who had started an instrument and had quit. And it was really interesting. The findings were that 90% of them wished their parents had continued to help them and not have them quit, even though they wanted to quit during that time. 90%, that was significant. So don't give up. Don't give up. My mother is one of the best examples of continuing on. She raised her 3 children through the Suzuki method, and she didn't give up on us, even though sometimes maybe the practice might have been very difficult. I know there were maybe some tears in there, but she saw the bigger picture. And now I am so grateful for all of the many hours of work and determination that she showed so that I can now teach other children and parents how to support their children. So don't give up. I think it's important to teach our children that challenge can actually be embraced as something very good. Often we frame challenge in something that's maybe bad or negative because it's hard. But if we can frame it in a place for our children that challenge is good and helps us grow, and that's where we feel fulfillment, then violin becomes more of a joy rather than a chore. And it doesn't mean everything's always going to be, yes, easy and wonderful. We want a little bit of that challenge because when we're challenged, we grow. And when we grow, we have a feeling of fulfillment and accomplishment that allows us to have success in other areas. Don't give up. You never know when your child will bloom. We're not in charge of the rate that the child grows. We are simply there to nourish them and give them the opportunities and the truths that they need to become the best versions of themselves. So don't give up and help your child see that challenges are part of life and that as they tackle them and as they embrace them, they will be successful. Number 2, learning the violin can be challenging, but building skill can be imperative. When we learn to build skill and help our child build their skill, they will set the foundation for success. The areas where skill can be built are in posture and setup. So it is worth the time to develop the muscles and create a posture. Because if the muscles are not trained, it's kind of like getting ready to run a marathon, right? I may have used this analogy before, but we're not just gonna get up tomorrow and run a marathon. We need to train the muscles, we need to train the body, and having consistent exercises and practices that build the body and keep it in shape is really important for violin practice. So we want to encourage that good posture. Does it take more time in the beginning? Yes. Is it faster in the long run? Yes. Take the time to get set, to get a good posture that will serve your child so they can play and perform anything that they want to. Take the time to get set. It is easier to lay down success for the child at the beginning than it is to change poor habits. Now, can you change bad habits or poor habits or habits that don't help as much? Absolutely. But it's easier to do in the beginning. So, set the foundation. Have posture be a very important role as your child is practicing because it sets them up for success, not just in their sound, but also for their body to be healthy. So posture is important. 2, ability to develop good coordination. So just like posture goes right into developing good coordination. We have finger builders and certain exercises that help build coordination, which eventually goes into muscle memory, kind of like riding a bike. As a child works on their fingers, whether it's beginning tapping on the string or doing donkla exercises, coordination is important. Scales with different rhythms and different bowings, that coordination will help them where they can take that skill set and put it on any piece and they'll be able to play. Again, almost anything if they build that posture and if they build that coordination, create that quick muscle memory. Practice slowly so we can listen for intonation. Playing in tune is very important. Playing in tune. There's a quote that says, from Simon James, it's either in tune or it isn't, right? So there's nothing in between right now, at least unless you have your 20th century music. I've played that too, and that's really cool, but that's still intentional, right? We want intentional tuning, intentional intonation, which means we get to train our listening. When we have our child listening to their beautiful music on a daily basis, it helps them know if they're in tune or not. Embracing that ability to listen at a deep level and make change is so important for good intonation. So we've talked about don't give up and then build skill, create things such as setting a good foundation for posture, doing things that help and improve coordination and muscle memory. And intonation is key. Really teaching our children how to listen to themselves and creating the foundation of good intonation from the very, very beginning. So if you don't know what intonation is, it's just playing in tune, placing the fingers in the right spaces. Really good. Okay, let's finish up. Set the foundation for success by creating an environment for success. So I find it's good to have practice pockets or practice places in your home. And even sometimes we even practice in the car. I have flashcards that we go over in the car if they want to do that. Create spaces, power spaces where students can practice and feel empowered. I use a foot chart. Maybe I'll grab this really quickly. Let me pull this out. Here we go. I love this. I love to use this. This is from my Twinkle mat, and you can put different feet, yellow cutout feet right here where the child knows where to stand. And just creating this boundary or power space helps teach the child that this is their thinking space. And then as they get up to perform, eventually they have trained themselves to be in that power space, and that's where they can think. It's their thinking zone. And so even if there's an audience out there and they might be nervous, they can still come from that place. They've set that safe space for them on a daily basis. And eventually, they won't be taking this up for the performance after a while. They'll have that space already in their minds. And creating that space of learning and growth and concentration is really important. Have things accessible. I find for my children of 7, having one copy of something is not enough. I actually make multiple copies and I post stuff on the wall. So you can see my wall over here. That is some of our practice plans and bow strokes. so that they can see it and it's accessible. Or if your child's working on a chart or a goal, put it where they can see it. Set them up for success so that they can see it on a regular basis and be reminded, yes, this is what I'm working toward, or oh yes, this is where I'm at in my practice. Having a clear picture is helpful and golden. When children don't know where they're headed, it's really hard to keep going. When children don't know where they're headed, it's hard to keep going. So we want to give them those goalposts and be like, okay, for 30 minutes, we're going to do these 5 things. And here are 3 elements: posture, eyes on bow, and good attitude. Whatever those 3 things. 3 is a powerful number. If you want to work in 3s, that is a great number to work with. And if they're really small, 1 thing is good. 1 thing. So set your child up for an environment of success by getting them set up in an environment that is successful with the items that they need, maybe a music stand, a metronome. Yes, speaking of metronomes, this is my favorite. I love this one. It's very durable, by the way. Set them up for success. I have another Facebook Live that talks about the tools that I use to set up for success, so you're welcome to go back and see that. And then also getting them in a mental space for success. We can feed our child that positivity, that high energy. I too have to prepare myself. I set goals for myself before I practice with my child to make sure that I'm coming from an intentional place rather than a reactive place. And I find that is very, very helpful. And I have to check in with myself. I'm like, oh, am I coming from that place of intentionality where I wanted to show up as a caring mother today? Maybe not. So let's tune back in. Those are helps. I hope that these tips will help you. Remember, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going. Build skill and create a success, a foundation for their environment, as well as making their time count. You're putting in the work, they're putting in the work. Let's make the time count by being very intentional about how we're approaching our practice, our attitude, and our direction. Thank you so much. Parents are amazing and caregivers. This world is successful because of people like you. Remember, you are the person that your child needs right now. It's you. Thanks again for joining me. If you want free tips on ways to motivate your child, please just let me know below and I'd love to send that to you. Have a fabulous Friday. Bye-bye.